All right, 8-bit bro show topic voting, huh? Interesting, interesting. Okay, so cool take on your thoughts about voting. I agree with a lot of it. I have some of my own thoughts too. So the whole time I was listening, I couldn't help but think about. I made like a connection between the way you feel about voting and for me it's not just like voting but just having the right to vote. I think is the thing that stuck with me more. But the connection I made, a bizarre one, was the way I feel about jujitsu and kind of just jujitsu for anybody, and also like jujitsu as it relates to MMA, mixed martial arts fighting. So, the connection, I wrote a few notes. So, to me, like jujitsu, like voting, it is a tool that helps enable people to fight for what they think is right. I think that is for both. The benefits are not obvious or direct. They don't. They're or maybe not, but participating, the decision to participate starts to move the needle in the direction of improvement. So that's true for young voters or people that I think have never voted. Um, there's probably a lot of skepticism there. I have another note here that says like skeptics will argue that participating does not guarantee victory, which is probably true, but avoidance almost certainly leads to defeat. So that one was a because I thought about how in jiu-jitsu, like for MMA, just because you know jiu-jitsu doesn't mean that you're going to win the fight. But if you don't know any jiu-jitsu, then you're very likely to lose. And I think with voting, it's not that if you don't vote you're going to lose, but like to your point, if you don't vote, then you're just like leaving the decisions up to everyone else that's voting. So if you're okay with that, then I guess that's one thing. But if you're not happy with the results and you're not voting, then you're not being part of the solution. You're being part of the problem, right? So um, anyway, what else? Uh, I wrote most results take time to reveal themselves, and they are usually the result of previous struggles and challenges and failures. So for those that are looking for like the quick fix, unfortunately, stuff like that sometimes doesn't exist, as we're seeing with this whole COVID pandemic thing. But you take little steps. You get like maybe 1% better every time, and hopefully, if you add up all these little percentages, then they lead to eventual success. The job I put in quotations. The job is never finished because the objective is constantly evolving. So for voting, like it's not you never can just like vote for a great nation and then like that's it because the definition of great nation is always evolving, right? And also same thing with like martial arts and fighting. You can't just like learn one thing and then all of a sudden you're not gonna lose a fight because the way people fight is constantly evolving and stuff. So whether you're a first time participant or you're like a lifelong participant, you're constantly working to try to adapt to these new challenges and these new scenarios. So I guess for those that, so for some people, that's why you should even get started because that way you're closer to the objective that you're looking for anyway. Um, and then finally, I wrote down it's a tool that is helpful, that can be helpful when used properly, but it's pretty useless and it can even be dangerous when it's used improperly or by ill-intended people. So that's the thing with these things that we equip people with. We equip them to enhance life, to enhance their lives or the lives of those around them. But we do so in a way that we do so kind of with the prerequisite that you have to use this properly. Otherwise, not only are you not helping, but you're causing more harm. And also, I think when it comes to voting, so you had a couple notes here. You said like the thing about one vote doesn't matter. I can see where you're coming from. I agree with that mostly. That if you're just looking for like that one vote to change the world, then that's in a democracy that's not going to work. Holding the government accountable, I could see that, like, as far as it being a reason for voting. I can think of some other reasons, but um, yeah, I can see that as one being. But again, for me, it's more just like um, having the right to vote. Like, just because I, I guess to speak up for those that possibly decide not to vote, just because you don't vote doesn't mean you don't think people should have the right to vote. It just means that there are certain battles, people pick their battles, and sometimes the ones that you pick are not the ones that other people would pick. And anyway, so yeah, the idea of not voting means that, like, you're against the government, or that, like, you don't trust the government or stuff like that. Like, I would beg to differ. In fact, I would say that for some people, not voting means that you trust the voters. Like, you trust everyone else to make these kind of decisions. Like, you treat them the way people treat firefighters or EMTs, because like I don't know everything about fighting fires, and I don't know everything about like, I'm not EMT certified, but I know a little bit of first aid. I know a little bit of firefighting basics, and other than that, I trust the infrastructure around me to hopefully keep everybody safe. And for some people, I think maybe their decision to opt out is kind of based on some of that trust. So it's not always like, I don't always think it's a problem that everyone doesn't vote, because I think it is cool that it's like a voluntary process. The same way I thought it was cool that joining the military is voluntary. I happened to join, and I thought it was very beneficial, and I thought that I give credit to everyone that does join. But I don't discredit anybody that doesn't, because that's how our military is built. That's how our country's built, is on a voluntary system. And I think voting is that way too. It's people have the right and the privilege to vote, and also they have the right and the privilege to opt out. So for better or for worse, that's just kind of the way it is in our country. Um, I really like what you said about, like, how the government is supposed to serve us, and it's like the definition of corruption when it doesn't serve us. That's true. It's also like it's kind of two-sided, because the definition of us is really tricky. Like, the government is supposed to serve whom? It's supposed to serve the voters. It's supposed to serve the citizens. I think it's supposed to serve, or like the intent is, it's supposed to serve the people under their umbrella. But sometimes serving them, you have like contradicting instructions, and that's why things are left up to voters, or that's why that they call it, like, being political, right? Like, you have all these differences of opinion, and one of them is going to usually, like, some decision is going to be the one that everyone goes with, and not everyone's going to like it. So I don't know. That's kind of just the way it is sometimes. Um, the less you care, the more you condone. I kind of paraphrase something you said like that, like something about, like, if you don't care about what's going on, then you're kind of condoning what's going on. And I think I would broaden that to say, if you continue to live in America, then you condone what's going on. But well, I don't know. Like, that's a little bit extreme. But if you're not doing something to fight for what you think is wrong, then you are condoning kind of the behavior. And but voting is a great tool. It's also just one tool, right? Not just, but it's one tool of many tools that can be used to help express whether or not you condone certain behaviors and certain practices in the country. But yeah, it was pretty interesting topic. So this is pretty lengthy too. Anyway, I guess I'm going to stop.